what's up, everybody? It's Joel Hoekstra from Whitesnake here, and you're listening to the Brutally Delicious Podcast.
The Brutally Delicious Podcast. The Brutally Delicious Podcast. The Brutally Delicious Podcast. The Brutally Delicious Podcast.
To Joel, and before we go any further, yes, thank you, Bruce.
Yes, gotta remember to hit record. Rena has forgotten before, so it's
Oh yeah. Just blame it on me. He's the one with the buttons. He's the one holding all the strings. So I even if I wanted to take blame, it would be stupid.
Cool, man. Thank you for joining us. Longtime fan. I appreciate you taking the time.
Hey, right on, man. Thank you. Appreciate the support.
Excellent. So I don't know where we can start. Let's start with Monsters of Rock. You guys just finished that. How was that experience?
It was cool. I had my annual hangover jam and took part in the basketball game, which is kind of another one of the things that grew out of me playing with fans, kind of one-on-one. So that's kind of evolved into a thing. And then I did a set with Gabriella and Nuno on there. And honestly, I spent a lot of time in my cabin kind of getting ready for Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp, which was on the heels of that. So I had to get 14 songs together or something like that in my cabin, in addition to the 21 that I played on the ship or something like that. So
Right.
It was a lot of me just hanging in my room, practicing. I'm sure my neighbors hated me.
So not much mixing this time out?
I mean, it seems to work out that way on some years where if I have anything on the heels of it, I'm practicing for that as well. So practicing for what I'm going to do on the cruise, getting that done, and practicing for what's coming up.
Gotcha.
So that's that seems to be a theme. I think he just froze on us, huh, Rena?
Yeah, I think he did. He's probably can hear
Bruce is
us still.
frozen.
Come on. Really? First one in the morning, we're going to freeze? Anybody there? Hello, hello? Hello?
It gives me the There we go. There's Bruce back.
Technology
Yay,
sucks, man. Sorry.
No
No
worries.
worries.
All
Did
good.
the recording, does it stop also if you drop off?
No, it's going.
It's going.
So-
All right, perfect. Yeah, so did you?
And to answer your question about going to see other bands, I didn't this year, not even one. And it was just out of how much I had to do. When I got on, my set was the next morning. So I had the guys over to the room kind of to walk through the set. That's a little bit of the norm because we don't really get a real rehearsal period for that. And just kind of played that the next day. And at that point in time, that's when I cracked open the stuff for Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp to be able to prep for that. Because, at that point in time, it's only 4 days off and you're talking 14 songs to be on top of. So started working on that, plus the 7 that I still had to play 2 days later with Nuno and Gabriella. And so, yeah, running, that stuff, you're talking 20 some songs a day. So it was... I was musiced out, man. Just we're trying to live through what I was going through. And sometimes it works out that way. There's been times in the past on there, though, for sure. Most of the time I go to see at least somebody, a couple of the bands. And there's been times where I've gone out and about the entire time. And I've been out watching bands. And so it just took out this year. And it's been 2 years in a row that way, sadly. So it's kind of a bummer. It's go on a boat and spend the entire time locked in your room practicing anyway, I'd be doing at home.
How do you keep up with all these projects? Because you seem to be always doing. Every time I look up, your name is somewhere and you're doing something.
Yeah, I mean, basically what I'm talking about is just constantly working. I see we're both trying to wake up still. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much on a daily basis. Like as soon as we're done here, I've got some prep to do. And for David, I'm gonna head out to see Coverdale here in like 6 days and get ready for some of the stuff that we're gonna do. And so that's happening. And then for me today, for probably a good 6 hours or something like that, in addition to dadding, which is significant with me. So, I get like a 3-4 hour window before the dadding begins, then the dadding. And then when they go to bed, the white snake. And then, Wednesday through Sunday until I leave for that, I teach as well. And I also have a gig on Friday with Broadway's Rock of Ages band, so that's thrown in there. So it's I'm just kind of like constantly going, but it's that has its blessings as well. It's not like it's a total curse. I mean, there's times where I wish it was a little bit more like, I'm not constantly working on a set or something or trying to get it together, but at the end of the day, it is probably good for me. It keeps me on the guitar a significant amount of my day. And obviously, squeezing in promo for the album and everything like that, like we're doing right now, that factors in as well. I mean, it's important.
Right. So that brings me to Crash of Life then, out in less than a month. What was you guys are all over the place. What was the writing process like for that?
A lot of riff first on this one, and some of it was stuff that had been around for a while. So like, Russell Allen and I had talked about maybe doing a band thing like, 4 years ago or something like that. So some of the riffs are from that. And, I just go back and I listen to songs, like song ideas that I put together for people. And I think, will that fit if I turn it into a Joel Hoekstra's 13 thing? And so a lot of ideas from past songwriting sessions are on there. And then some of it was designated like, okay, now I'm going to, see with this collection of songs, what am I missing? What do I want reflected on there? And then write that kind of vibe. But yeah, Vinny, a lot of times I have like a scratch vocal or me playing the melody on the guitar too. And I only had that really for maybe 2 of the songs this time for Vinny, Appice. When he did the drums, he cuts it to my guitars. And then hopefully there's like some kind of guide vocal form or something. But he was a little bit like, hey, man, it's just guitar. I'm like, well, if you listen to it, I'm like, you could tell what's happening, what's going to be happening where and things like that. So, anyway, that's the way it goes. That's, and in regards to the recording process, that kind of all happens, like goes to Vinny, goes to Tony. At that point in time, I think I had maybe simultaneously while they were doing their stuff, I was writing the lyrics and the vocal melodies and coming up with what would be there. And then once you get the drums and bass down, things can kind of happen at the same time because people can track to my scratch guitars like Derek Sherinian or, Girish. Obviously, lead vocals need to go down before backing vocals. That's the only really rule from then on, is like everybody kind of needs to hear that lead vocal to be able to sing backing vocals to it. But that's it. All the stuff can kind of go down at its own pace, like who's working on what. And then obviously it all goes to Chris Collier. He mixes it up and, I usually give him, a list of things that I would like to hear that makes him want to throw his laptop at the wall or something.
Right.
And then he's usually a good sport about it and hangs in and deals with me. And then we end up with, a cool final product. Sweet.
Rena?
God, I got lost there. There was so much of the whole like blah blah, but I'm here for the shit jokes. That's why I'm here. So like I need when things get like all music.
Absolutely. Well, listen, in the dadding, that's what I like to think I bring to the table is the potty humor. I try to supply that. So,
my kind of guy. Give me your best potty joke?
Or your best
as a
dad
dad,
joke?
you should have really good
I don't
ones.
know if I don't know if I necessarily have a potty joke off the top of my head, but I do like to, improvise like a bedtime story for them every night. That usually involves, potty humor. That's, there's rarely one that goes by without a fart or a poo or a pee, and
Yep.
it just instantly makes them laugh. So, why not?
Totally.
Why not?
What? How old are your kids?
11 and 7.
Oh, nice.
Oh, nice. Yeah, mine is just turning 7. We actually have this whole get to know your school because he starts first grade in the fall. So I've started my morning like crying like an idiot in the park. Like, there he is, just growing up, and awful.
Yeah.
But but that's cool. It's important to bring the potty humor to everything, and it sounds like you take your daddying very seriously, which is a great thing. But like since you've been in like a whole bunch of bands, and you're still in a whole bunch of bands, which one is your favorite and why? Like what has like impacted you the most? What do you think represents you as a person the most?
I mean, it's kind of impossible to say which one my favorite is. I mean, I think the one that represents me most as a person are these albums, because I'm not only writing the riffs, but I'm writing like the lyrics and the vocal melodies and everything. So, these albums are definitely my baby and my artistic, or my babies and my artistic statement, so to speak. I don't necessarily make these albums like for the business end of things. They're kind of a financial disaster at the end of the day. I kind of pay everybody else and go, wait a minute, I got paid like negative something to do this album.
Right.
But it's cool. It's like, I think it's important to have that as part of your legacy, as a musician, and not just be like the guy who had some cool gigs, But if you want to talk about the Whitesnake or Trans-Siberian Orchestra and all that stuff, I mean, all of it is like stuff that I'm really honored and grateful to be a part of, and any guitar player would be. I've been lucky to have a history of stuff that it's like, I'm very lucky, if you go down the list of gigs that people would probably have been really, really grateful to have, the Trans-Siberian Orchestra, Whitesnake, or, Broadway's Rock of Ages, doing the 6 years on Broadway with that show. And obviously, Night Ranger, 7 years with those guys. And I mean, all that stuff kind of added up, being able to be in Revolution Saints right now, Iconic with Michael Sweet, Tommy Aldridge, Marco Mendoza, Nathan James. I mean, all that stuff is kind of, and my, Joel Hoekstra's 13 thing is quite an all-star lineup. So it's just, to be able to work with any of the guys, for me, it's cool. What I dig about it is that I feel like through hard work and through determination and perseverance, like my name has somehow entered the conversation even, which is exciting for me, because I wasn't around in the 80s when you could sell like a couple million copies of something and then people just forever revere you as like this famous guitarist, For me, it's been built on this kind of workmanlike attitude of constantly doing something and like trying to keep myself out there and build something as best I can. So, whether that's the Monsters of Rock cruise or doing the acoustic duo stuff with Brandon Gibbs, or still to date, still going out and playing gigs with Broadway's Rock of Ages band. This is all the stuff that's making up my year this year. I think I did my taxes not too long ago, and I had 28 income sources last year.
Wow.
Okay, so that's an awful lot,
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm listening to Torn Into Lies, and I never heard of Girish Pradhan before. Where did you find him, and what a voice? Holy cow.
Yeah, Frontiers, when we're talking about like, hey, who's going to sing on this album? And they said, well, what about this guy, and they sent me a video of his band, and he's like screaming his ass off. And, it's kind of like a young Sebastian Bach kind of vibe, and I thought, well, I mean, he's unbelievable, but my stuff is kind of like modeled from that Ronnie James Dio through like Paul Rogers or Lou Gramm thing. And so I was like, I kind of need someone who can just sing the songs. But I thought maybe I'll see what he can do in that regard, like let's have a conversation. So we rapped a little bit, and then I sent him the stuff, and he's the real chameleon, I mean, he can really do it all. I think this album will be really good for him in that regard, because I think, despite the fact that he's amazing at all the screaming thing, that's also become maybe a thing where people are kind of saying, oh, well, he's just a screamer, everybody gets pigeonholed, in the early going as they start to break through, and they say, everybody's quick to dismiss him. But, there's a lot of stuff on here where he doesn't fall back on that. It's like guitarists falling back on technique, you have to prove that you're more than a shredder and all that kind of stuff. And, same type of deal. There's always some kind of, what the naysayers are saying when you're somebody who's trying to build a name for yourself. So anyway, he's a really versatile singer and a really talented guy, and I'm happy to have him on board.
What's been the response to Torn Into Lies so far? I know it's been out like a week or so, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, the first single, Far Too Deep, came out, I'd say, I don't know what now, a little over a month ago or something. But that one's like kind of a heavy track.
Right.
And that represented, I'd say, the heavier side of this album. And then Into Lies is more like just, like ballad. So it veers off a bit. It gets a little bit jammy in some spots, So it's not like a, stereotypical hairband power ballad or something. I'd say it's kind of its own thing. It's as far as what style it is.
Right.
But I'd say good. Everybody seems to, be really digging Girish. I think he brings, a youthful energy to the whole thing. That's kind of cool. You got this situation where he's bringing the aggregate age down of the project, in the video, where you get some of the older veteran guys like Vinny Appice and Tony Franklin, and then you've got this younger singer coming in. So yeah, I think the fact that he's kind of young and hungry and got the eye of the tiger a bit, do the videos for it and help it out. And he seems to be proactive in trying to promote that he's doing it, which I'm sure, a lot of it is him wanting to build his own band. And that's fine. I mean, that's great. I hope it does, just as long as he keeps doing my albums.
Right. Here's another thing, like, you'll go do your thing, but this should be your first priority still.
I mean, his band should be his first priority, but just as long as he's willing to still be like, hey, that was, that doing that album helped me out, so let's do another. Right. Yeah, cool.
All right.
Any plan to take 13 out on the road?
I mean, talk about your financial disasters right there in a nutshell. I mean, if I try to do that is really hard on several levels, because you got to map out like a clear period of time of quite a ways away to get booked. You can't book something like that like a week out. Right. And so it requires like everybody clearing room in their schedule. And then that requires me actually paying everybody enough for them to hold that time. And then also, like, you're dealing with rock veterans. You can't say, hey, we're staying at the Motel 6 and we're flying middle seats on Spirit Airlines, and this is going to be killer. Everybody would be like, they'd murder me collectively in like 24 hours. Right. Headlines would read, White Snake guitarist murdered by solo bandmates. So, yeah, I mean, it's a tricky thing to pull off. Honestly, it would be an investment if I did it. Like, I would pretty much plan on losing money. I'm not opposed to doing it. I've done a show with it on the Monsters of Rock cruise after the first record, so it has actually happened. I'm not opposed to it happening. There were some issues though, like even with the videos, getting Girish in. They were like, it's going to be great. You can have them in the videos, and okay, cool. And then, well, guess what? We have work visa issues. We can't get them into the US. And so hence you've got Girish singing outside in the Torn Into Lies video, It worked out kind of cool though. Some cool scenery he got there, man, in India, that park and, the birds flying overhead and stuff. So kind of worked out neat in its own way. And we did what we could to make it happen for everybody. But, these things are trickier than people realize sometimes. They just say, hey, we want a live show in our town. It's like, okay, yeah, but,
right.
Like,
And also, like, people are changing how they're behaving because of the pandemic. Like, at least here in Finland, we seem to get constant notification on entire festival canceling because of shitty ticket sales. Because, like, you know, people wait until the last minute to make a decision whether they want to go. Shit, sorry, there's like, God damn it. Let me close the window. You guys continue. I'll mute myself. It's probably
wow, you're firing up some
construction
metal.
work.
Yeah, man,
Huh?
get the metal going.
Right, Irina's firing up the metal. It's later over there, man. She's what is it like?
I think it's 6
6
hours.
hours ahead of
Yeah.
New York. Yeah.
So while she's doing whatever she's doing, I got a quick question for you, and then we'll go back to it. But when you're writing,
Good.
when you sit down to write, then how do you know? Do you sit down with a project that you're writing for, or do you write and then parse it out later and say, hey, this is a 13, or this is a White Snake, or this is a Revolution Saints?
So yeah, I mean, it depends. Like Revolution Saints, I don't really write for. The only song that I had any hand in the writing on Eagle Flight was something that, oddly enough, so what happens there is Alessandro Del Vecchio is pretty much responsible for getting the tunes written. And then he usually contacts like outside writing sources and is like, hey, you got anything cool for me? And he'll co-write it with them, right? Like write like maybe the lyrics and the vocal melodies. And I'm one of those outside sources that sometimes he comes to. So I wrote like the riffs for Talking Like Strangers, which ended up being one of the singles. But oddly enough, when I was writing those riffs, I was thinking Doug Aldrich should be playing them because I was like, yeah, Doug's in Revolution Saints and, you know, Blades. And I was like trying to come up with something cool that would fit those guys, you know, and as luck would have it, I ended up playing it myself and going like, I never thought I was going to actually be doing this song like in the band. So when it comes to writing for that, album number 2, really nothing on there. And then album number 3, I think the plan is to totally change that and have Jeff Pilson and I write a lot of stuff on it. So I've gotten a few song ideas and are ready for that, which is kind of insane, seeing as you guys probably won't hear those songs for like 3 years or something like that. But that's how far out that's, you know, they're kind of doing this Revolution Saints stuff. So anyway, that's, I believe, kind of the plan for that record is to, and then fans can debate about whether or not that was a good move or a bad move.
Right.
Now, Iconic, like that, I write the riffs and I write them unarranged. The way Michael works with George Lynch with Sweet and Lynch is like the, you know, George or myself with Iconic will write the riffs for a song, but like leave space in Pro Tools between, maybe just play them like once or twice around, and then Michael like arranges a song out of it. That's what he digs doing. So he'll take the riffs and arrange it, and then like if he hears something that's maybe not there, he'll add a riff, or maybe if, you know, there's too many riffs, he'll take out one of mine, and that's all cool. You know, it's like it's all part of the collaborative process. And then that goes to Nathan James and to Alessandro again, and they write the lyrics and the vocal melodies, and that's how you get the music on Iconic.
Gotcha.
So it's interesting, and usually by the time it comes back to me to cut the actual record, Michael has cut himself playing my riffs back. So it's kind of interesting in that he'll play it maybe slightly different than I did. At least this is the way it worked on the first record. And so it's almost like by the time you get it, you don't even remember having written it. You know, it's like, okay, I know I wrote this, but you know, and then you know, White Snake, that Flesh and Blood was a lot of like completing ideas that David had. David would be like, hey, I got this song, goes like this, a chorus or something like that, and he'll say, where would you go from there? And with David, you do like guitar riffs only. You don't do like, you don't sing a vocal line or like a melody or a lyric idea. He's like, that's his territory. And so every project's got certain things that you can contribute, and that, you know, for me is kind of the fun part, just for like a minute on this, to be like the guy that writes everything. So when it comes to the writing, I'm like a dictator, because it's like I'm basically writing the entire thing, riffs, vocal melodies, lyrics. But then when it comes to my production style with it, I'm totally the opposite. I'm completely hands off. Like whatever those guys play, I roll with, and like So very rarely am I like, hey, would you mind playing this or mind playing this? So I kind of dig when I do the writing, and then they kind of steer it in different directions. That's how, so they're essentially doing what I get to do at Revolution Saints, where you put your stamp on something through like the way you play a part or the way you, so you can alter a song or alter like the vibe of a song or the success of a song just simply by what you play. You know? I mean, like if your guitar part is hooky and cool, it's technically not part of the song. It's not really part of the writing. It's not part of the chord progression, but you can write hook within songs that you don't get like writing credit for, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, but you can still like aid in a song's success.
Okay. Rena.
How important, if at all, can you hear me? Yeah. Probably. Is it for you that your kids will at some point appreciate your career and your status as a musician?
I don't think they do.
Probably not at this point. Like, yeah, my kid is like, Mom.
I mean, I don't think they really care all that much. You know, kids are like they have their own worlds and their own lives, and the world is different for an 11-year-old or a 7-year-old than it is for us. So that's not like, and that's fine. They don't have to be like modeling their lives around like, what I do. So, there's not a lot of dialogue surrounding it, to be honest. I mean, it's just kind of, I have them learning music. Like both of them are doing the classical thing, and just like, I want them to be educated in music, but that's kind of more important to me than them having like a full understanding of like my whole catalog and all that stuff.
Right. And I meant like further along the line, like clearly, like my 7-year-old is like, Mom, I forbid you to sing with that voice indoors.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, their kids are always embarrassed of their parents. That's no different for me. So,
Right.
Yeah.
It's like when I go to drop off, I mean, I've always been concerned like, hey, I'm the only dad walking up in front of a school with this for sure.
Right. Right.
When I'm going to do drop off, it's, all the businessmen, and then there's this. So it's like, it's cool. Like you just, whatever, man, you just take it step by step.
Yeah.
I'd like to think that, they must see that I work hard and stuff like that. And so hopefully that helps in that regard with whatever it is they pursue, that they figure out like, all right, the key to like getting somewhere with it all is to work hard. And that's a good lesson to learn from me, more so than like, hey, I really want you to be a guitar player. I have, the only thing I've said to him is, hey, whoever starts guitar, you guys realize you inherit like a collection of guitars.
Right.
I'm like, because that makes, solid financial sense. Like you might want to just start just to learn a little bit so you can be the person that gets all my guitars. But
Absolutely.
Well, that's going to bring us to the end, I think. Yeah, we got I just got the notification. We got about a 4-minute warning.
Yeah.
So, Rena, if you got anything else? Awesome. Thank you, my friend. Thank you for your contribution to the hard rock metal world.
Yeah, you bet, man. Lucky to have it all for sure.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Good luck with this record, and good luck with the Whitesnake stuff.
Cool. Thanks so much, bro. Appreciate it,
my friend.
All right. Have a great day.
Hey, take care.
Bye-bye.